All right, Tom, American Pharoah is in there. We're just waiting for Honor Code, who takes up his spot in the outside stall. They're all in line, and we're ready for the start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
We're off. What's up, Penelope?
It's BC week. I'm having a good time. How you doing?
Good. It's Tuesday. It already feels like we should be on Breeders' Cup Friday because it seems like it's been a busy week already. It's, of course, Election Day here in the U.S., so you've got that added excitement in the air, if you want to call it that. And, of course, we've got just a couple of days until the Breeders' Cup, 2 action-packed race days at Keeneland, 14 Breeders' Cup races in all, 7 on the turf, 7 on the dirt. Our emphasis today, Penelope, you coined the phrase Turf Tuesday. It's going to be turf racing.
Thank you. I was very pleased with the alliteration.
Really? No, it's a really good job. And our emphasis, look, everyone does what their specialty is. Your specialty is words. And, you bring the creativity, you bring the brand, you bring the image, and you bring the flowers. Beautiful, by the way.
My friend Jessica sent me these as like a happy Breeders' Cup week, so I had to feature them because they're so beautiful. That's a really great job. It puts my background to shame. Really nice job. Ever my goal, Dan. Ever my goal.
In terms of expertise on European horses, we have all of last week and into this week. I've been fortunate enough to have Ali Vance in the UK working with us as sort of our international correspondent, speaking to jockeys and trainers about some of the horses that they've sent over here for the Breeders' Cup. We're going to speak to Ali in a moment. I just wanted to let everybody know the comments line is open. Feel free to drop us questions.
And to that point, hello, Adam.
What's up, Adam? We can't wait either. We're going to wait for more calls. Here we go. Now the comments are coming in. It didn't take long. We just had to give them a slight prompt.
Okay.
They're already telling us who they like.
Mean Mary is one of Mike Curry's favorite horses, low key, running this year. So I'm sure he's going to want to talk about that when he is on with us tomorrow.
Yeah, we do have a loaded lineup all week. We should also mention later on the show today, Alicia Wintz-Hughes, who is on the ground at Keeneland as part of the media press team, watching the horses on the track. She's going to be joining us and giving us her insights from Keeneland. Tomorrow, as you mentioned, Mike Curry will be joining us. We'll also have Billy Koch from Little Red Feather Racing. They've got
my
Red
sponsor.
And your hair sponsor as well. They pay for Penelope's hair.
Well, no, they paid me so I would dye my hair. They paid to benefit retired racehorses. I want to be crystal clear about that. All that money went to go to the great horses at New Vocations, at the Retired Racehorse Project Thoroughbred Makeover, and the Fair Hill Thoroughbred Show. Not me. Not my pocket.
Always important to plug.
I am not embezzling from charity.
Always important to plug aftercare. And later on this week, this show, which is our lunchtime show, by the way, feel free, grab a bite with us, grab a drink. It's not too early to drink, especially because it's election day. It is not too early to grab a drink.
And it's also never too early or too late for a big honking glass of iced coffee.
I'm with you. I am with you. Later on this week, I want to mention that our shows are going to be moving to 9 a.m. On Friday and Saturday, so that we get in our coverage before the action starts at Keeneland. Rosina Pravnik is going to be with us for some of the coverage later on this week. We'll also have all sorts of special guests coming in, but let's just go ahead without any further ado and welcome in our first guest of the week, Ali Vance. Ali, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. Happy Breeders' Cup week and all that. Yeah, great. Sad not to be out in Kentucky, but still excited for Friday and Saturday. And a great European contingent have headed over there. I think they're all settled in now.
For those who don't know, Ali, you obviously have covered some of the biggest races in the world. You've been to all the major racetracks, all the big international events, working for CNN, of course. Give people a little bit of quick background. And what's your background with Breeders' Cup? What's your experience been traveling to the Breeders' Cup in the past? Were you at Keeneland in 2015? Which Breeders' Cups have you been to?
So I've been to the last 3 Breeders' Cup, Del Mar, Churchill Downs, and Santa Anita. So all covering it for CNN. I present their monthly horse racing show called Winning Post. So, and Breeders' Cup is one of the highlights of the year. It's an important event to be at. But before that, it's a major end of season championship. So obviously, it's huge focus over here in the UK, and I work for a satellite racing channel, which showed the Breeders' Cup, so sort of focused on that a little bit before. But yeah, it's an exciting, and talking to lots of the jockeys and trainers, it's obviously coined the World Championships, but it's sort of seen as the Ryder Cup, Europe versus America, and very much, particularly in the turf races. We send some really good horses over there, and it's great to have that rivalry, and all the jockeys just want to put one over the Americans in your own backyard.
Ali, I have a take so hot in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint that you're going to need potholders to handle it, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about it.
Right. Okay. Bring it on.
You want to jump right into it, Dana? What do you say?
We might as well. Just wanted to let people know that Ali, again, has been interviewing some of the jockeys. In fact, you mentioned this Ryder Cup atmosphere. That's exactly what Frankie Dettori told you when you spoke to him this week. You also spoke to jockey O'Sheen Murphy, and you've spoken to a couple of trainers, assistant trainers, Gare Lyons with Siskin in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and also in the Breeders' Cup Mile, Kamiko, who O'Sheen is going to be riding. And of course, spoke to Kate Harrington. We're going to show some clips here throughout just to get some of the insights from those connections. But let's go. Of the 7 turf races, the first one on Breeders' Cup Friday, Future Star Friday, is the Juvenile Turf Sprint. Penelope, kick us off.
I'm so excited to say this out loud because it's insane and I love it. I'm going all in on Lip is Honor. Single on Lip is Honor. So hear me out.
Go for it.
Okay. I have rationale behind this. He was a $650,000 yearling, 5 for 7 in the money on the turf, and he won once and was second once in 3 tries at the distance. I also like that he seems to be able to sit mid-pack in what's surely going to be a very speedy front end, thanks to the American contenders. And Ryan Moore is jockey. He won a little race in 2015 at Keeneland called the Breeders' Cup Turf on Found, so he knows his way around that oval. Ali, am I as crazy as I sound?
You're definitely not crazy. Anything with Ryan Moore riding and Aidan O'Brien training, you have to take seriously. Aidan O'Brien is hugely successful in the Breeders' Cup, as we know. But I can't say that personally. I think that your American horses will put it up against Lip is Honor. I think that Aidan O'Brien's got some better runners during the week. But as I said, you cannot ever look away from Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. They've got a great draw in 3, and that's so crucial for the European horses coming over because, they're not necessarily so used to going absolutely flat out the gates like your runners are. So it's important to have a good draw. One last time out, that was on heavy ground. What's the going like? What's the ground like at Kentucky? What's it like at Keeneland? You probably can give me a bit more of an update on that.
Yeah.
Well, the weather is supposed to be perfect for the entire week. So I'm going to say it's going to be fast and firm on Friday and Saturday, barring anything unforeseen, which can happen. It's fall.
Which is, the trainers are going to send the horses over there knowing that's a possibility. But this particular horse, the last 2 runnings, has been run on heavy ground and soft ground. So, the speedy surface is going to be a bit different for it. But I don't want to put you off. But as I said, you've got some very good American runners in this race.
Yeah, no, I realize how, like I said, I know it's a hot take, but also the Breeders' Cup, it's bombs away all the time. These races, long shots win because the best of the best in the world are going to be there. So I think if the front pace is hot, we could see something weird happen, and that's how I'm going to try to build a bankroll for the rest of the week.
Bring it on.
Like I told Penelope, we were chatting earlier, she told me about this pick. I would never talk anyone off a horse that's 20-1 morning line. It's probably going to go off even higher because, Ali, as you mentioned, the U.S. horses will always get the edge here in the turf sprints, especially with 2-year-olds. It's going to be very fast. There's a ton of pace, which you would think, again, logically should set up for a horse maybe slightly off the pace, but there's a lot of, what looks like good speed in the race. The favorite is drawn on the outside, Golden Pal. Ali, I did want to ask you about one other horse coming over for this race in particular, mostly because of the horse's jockey, who's the talk of the town, Holly Doyle, and that's Mighty Gurkha. Do you know anything about this horse that you could tell us in particular? There's only one race going left-handed early in the career. The last race over soft ground wasn't great. But there seems to be enough there to where I guess if the horse can stay in touch, maybe a factor.
Yeah, I mean, Archie Watson's had runners at the Breeders' Cup for the last 3 years, so he's a trainer that does like to send horses over. But I think, as you're right in saying, the story is Holly Doyle, the fact that she's having her first ever Breeders' Cup ride. She's our leading female jockey. She's actually she's fourth in the Jockeys Championship at the moment. And she's having a fantastic season. She rode her first Grade 1 winner this year. She won 2 races on Champions Day, which is our sort of big end of season finale here at Ascot. She's got a ride in Bahrain on the Japanese horse Deirdre. So I think the story is very much about her. She's the main jockey for trainer Archie Watson. It's a bit of an outsider, this horse. I mean, he's around about 16 to 1 with us in our markets. Last seen at Newmarket at the beginning of October, was second favourite for the race, finished down the field. It's got a smattering of form there, but I think in terms of the European runners heading into the race, Lipizzaner is the best of them. Weirdly, in the betting, You Better Believe It is actually fancied a bit more above Lipizzaner, but You Better Believe It is having her first, will be Nigel Tinkler, the trainer's first ever runner in the Breeders' Cup, and was a 40 to 1 shock winner of the Flying Childers Stakes at Doncaster. So yeah, I would favour Lipizzaner over as the pick of the 3 European runners.
I think what you were trying to tell us earlier, though, is do not bet. If there's one race where you're not going to bet on the Euros, maybe it's this race.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is fair. But again, like, if you're not going to swing for the fences, like, it's all about having fun. Am I going to put more money on this horse than I should? No. Am I going to place a cheeky little, like, $5 win bet on him? Yeah, I am. What the heck, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing with the Breeders' Cup. Every year, everyone thinks they've got it figured out. And invariably, we're all made fools about 80% of the time or 90% of the time. But all you got to do is hit one. You hit with Lipizzaner, your weekend's set. You don't really have to do much else. So you just sit back and enjoy the winnings.
My family is set up for the holidays, and we get buying presents if that happens.
I'll just mention briefly for the Juvenile Turf Sprint, I really do like After 5. Wesley Ward, who won this race last year with 4-wheel drive. This is a horse who got a very passive ride last out in the Futurity, ended up finding himself in last off the turn for home, made a nice late run. But the horse who won 2nd of July, who comes back here and is drawn wide, just got the jump on him. So couldn't catch him that day. After 5 is a maiden. I think might be slightly under the radar as much as a Wesley Ward could be. Golden Pal, I think, is going to take most of the money. The 5-horse Cowan is another one who's creating a lot of buzz, has some late closing kick. And if you believe that it's going to be tough for all 4 or 5 speed horses here to maintain the pace up front, then maybe you look to a horse like that. We talked about the 3 European horses who are in for this race. There are 33 European horses that have drawn into the main bodies of the fields over the 2 days. Obviously, each one of them has a trainer or a training team or staff that's traveled to the U.S. with them. Some of the owners have come over, and the jockeys have come over. Ali, one of the interviews you did the other day was with Oisin Murphy, champion British jockey. And you asked him about some of the protocols involved. I wanted to play that clip, and then we'll chat more with you on the other side of this.
Logistics-wise, how does it all work with you going out to America? Do you have to quarantine at all?
It's a little bit tricky. I have to do a COVID test in the next few days before I fly. And then obviously when I land, I have to do another COVID test. And basically, from the time I land in America and get to my hotel, I will only leave the hotel to go to the racetrack and ride in the races. So it's going to be a little bit secluded, but I've got high quality animals to sit on, and the Breeders' Cup is a championship event, brilliant to be part of. So I'm super excited.
So it's worth a little discomfort, worth a little bit of compromise to ride in the Breeders' Cup.
But you know what? You said we got 33 runners, European trained horses coming over, and that is just so great given the year and the circumstances we're under. You know, it's so difficult to travel. So many of the trainers can't make it over. It's, you know, the protocols, as you heard from Machine, the different testing they've got to do. It just shows the prestige that the Breeders' Cup holds, that trainers still really want to send their horses, owners want to have runners there. And also huge respect to the organisers or the concept of the Breeders' Cup, that the prize money has been kept the same, because in the UK it's fair to say the prize money has been pretty dire this year, and it's been a big talking point. A lot of the big festivals have had to really cut down the prize money, so to have the same amount as last year, 28 million in the prize pot, is it's fabulous. So well done to everyone at the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, especially like you said, this year, 2020, to have the huge international presence that we have coming into the World Championships is just so exciting. And it lends, you know, a lot of temptation into the betting pools, which I know, you know, horse players, both foreign and domestic, are going to take huge advantage of. And Ali, I wanted to ask you a really quick question, because when you were talking earlier about the UK betting pools versus the US betting pools, for our bettors here, is it a wise decision to watch how the UK markets, the European markets, are betting horses they're familiar with versus the American pools, and make betting choices that way? Like, so for example, if a European horse here is 20-1 going into a race, but in the UK they're 10-1, is that a reasonable way to make some betting choices?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I mean, why not? I mean, you can get some good prices again, like we would be looking at different markets. So when, you know, we have runners in France, so we're looking at the French market as well, the PMU. Yeah, why not? Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a big betting market, the Breeders' Cup, for here in Europe and the UK as well. So, you know, there's plenty of money, plenty of liquidity. So definitely worth keeping an eye on what's happening over here. And I think it's pretty easy using the apps and things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very lucky to have a lot of information at our disposal. It can be tricky to wade through it, but I'm going to ham-fistedly, therefore, plug our website, americasbestracing.net, because we have tips, guides, ways you can bet the Breeders' Cup, your international horses you should know, all this good information. It's on the site right now, which you can see right below me, blocking my name, Dan.
Hey, you can blame Greg for that. And a lot more coming on americasbestracing.net as well. Some more previews of the races in particular. But let's dive back into the races. And I wanted to go back to something we've touched on already. And that's one of the common themes here in the turf races, specifically with the European runners that are coming over. When Ali was talking to both trainers and jockeys like O'Sheen, they talked about the ground, you know, whether they would get firm ground. Many of these horses are looking for firm ground and hoping that's what they get here. And the other trend is how they're able to take the turns or the bends at Keeneland. Some of them going left-handed for the first time. And importantly, not wanting to draw too wide, especially in a race like the 7th race on Friday, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, presented by Coolmore America, where you've got the starting line isn't all that far from that first turn. And so if you're drawn pretty much about post 8 or 9 outward, you're going to be in some trouble. And I sort of laughed, but I also cringed because I felt bad for O'Sheen. When he was talking to you, he mentioned specifically wanting a good draw, and he's on the Learjet, who happened to draw the 14 post in that race. So you would think, based on your conversations with them, hopes are dashed before race day. Give us a little more color on that, Ali, and explain how how you understood some of those concerns coming from O'Sheen and some of the others you spoke to.
Look, I think that every European trainer you speak to wants a good draw, and a good draw is inside a low number. Looking generally at the European draws, I think that the horses have done pretty well. You look at the turf, and there's plenty low draws, and in this race, I know that the Learjet's drawn right out, and it's going to be tricky for him. But New Mandate's a horse I like drawn in 2. You've got Battleground. 9's not the best, but you've got Cadillac for Jessica Harrington in 5. So I think generally the Europeans have done pretty well. Yeah, the Learjet is super speedy. So I suppose, one thing is that she knows that if he really has to go for it and get out the gates to get onto the rail, he perhaps can do it. This horse has been running over 5-6 furlongs a little bit more recently, but is a very fast horse. He's an outsider. Look, he's 25-1 with us, so he's a decent price. Maybe he's a good each way bet. In terms of the Europeans, I like New Mandate for Rafe Beckett and Frankie Dettori, drawn in 2, which is a great draw. One is last 3 starts, last time seen at the end of September at Newmarket, all on good ground. So a horse that likes as we were talking about, the going, the slightly fast going. I like this horse. He's been running over 7 or 8 furlongs, so not the sort of speedy type like the Learjet, but I think he'll be right there at the end. He'll be quick out of the gates. He's got Frankie Dettori on board. As we know, he's won 14 championship races. He's the right man to be there. Rafe Beckett's a really good trainer. So of the European horses like coming over, I like New Mandate in this.
We're on the same page there. That's what I landed on too.
But just so one post note on this. Beautiful horse, Battleground for Aidan O'Brien, and beautifully bred. We talk about Found winning at Keeneland when it was in 2015. Won the Arc. The Arc winner came over and beat Golden Horn that year. A beautiful mare, and Battleground's her first foal by Warfront. So, and is a lovely horse. So again, you can't rule out Aidan O'Brien, but I do like New Mandate at a slightly bigger price in this race.
Well, I know you just made one of our commenters, Stephanie, very happy, because very early on in this broadcast, comment, the one above, she said that Battleground is her favorite European. So we will certainly be keeping an eye out, and that's gonna be a really, really good race. Dan, who did you land on there?
Well, look, I just want to say, maybe because I'm so focused on data and numbers today, maybe it's because of the election, maybe it's just because I've just been staring at past performances too much. I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, with Battleground, there's a lot to like. We made the case on pedigree and on form. And additionally, we mentioned Aidan O'Brien has had some success at the Breeders' Cup, specifically this race. He's won 4 times. Ryan Moore has won this race 4 times, but the numbers in recent years have not been as great with the horses that Aidan has shipped over. Specifically, I just ran a search. His last 82 turf starters in the U.S., only 5 of them have won. That's a 6% win rate. And in turf graded stakes in the U.S., 4 for 73, a 5% win rate. Only 22 of those 73 horses even hit the board. I think that's a little surprising. Before I move on to my actual pick, Allie, what do you make of those numbers?
Well, look, Aidan O'Brien, there is no doubt, is one of the most successful, best trainers in the world. He's an absolute genius with horses, and he comes over and does very well in the Breeders' Cup. But he does have a lot of runners. He throws a lot of runners. This race is sponsored by Coolmore America. It's a race that's probably quite important to them. So he's gonna throw a few darts at the race. He has some very good darts to throw. As we know, as I said, Battleground is a beautiful horse, beautifully well bred, and you definitely wouldn't rule it out. But you can sometimes look at the trainers that are only got 1 runner coming over to the Breeders' Cup, 2 runners. Jessica Harrington's got Cadillac. She's a superb trainer. She hasn't got many coming over. Rafe Beckett's, he's got 2 coming over. That's why I like New Mandate. So Aidan O'Brien, don't take anything away from him, or Ryan Moore, fabulous trainer and jockey. But they do have a lot of runners at the Breeders' Cup as well.
All right. So this is the way I approach this race from a handicapping perspective. I mentioned the draw, and especially horses drawn outside, having some concerns about them. I've got the data for that too. Post 10 and outward at Keeneland. So 10 and outward at Keeneland, going a mile or longer on the turf, just 2 winners from 40 starters in the most recent meet. The best post in these kinds of races on the turf at Keeneland, post number 1, 23% of the time, post number 1 is winning. By far the best. Post 2 and 4 are 14%. That's a huge difference. And normally I wouldn't jump to something like that, but when you've got a 10% difference between one post and all other posts, that's a good sign. It so happens that my choice in this race happens to be in post 1. It's Seal Away, won the Jean-Luc Lagardère by 8 lengths last out. Did actually lose to Go Athletic 2 back. But that horse is in the 12 hole here, and then won by 5 in the race prior. The only time going left-handed was on debut and won that race easily, was over soft ground. And also was listening to the Nick Luck Daily podcast today, heard Gabby Gaudet on with Nick, and Gabby said that of all the European horses she saw on the track, he looked great at Keeneland. Looks like he's maintained a lot of his conditioning on the flight over, so that's a positive sign. So Seal Away for me is my pick in the juvenile turf. And I want to go back to Cadillac briefly, number 5, Cadillac. Horses 2 races going left-handed were by far the best, one on debut by 9 and then one in a Group 2 at Leopardstown. Kate Harrington, Ali, I believe, told you Leopardstown is the closest thing you could find in Ireland to Keeneland, right? I mean, that's the closest comparison to Keeneland. Did you say that's fair?
It's left-handed. It's got a relatively tight turn into the home straight, but it's still very different. The Irish countryside. It's not as flat as Keeneland, and it's certainly not as tight. But Kate's right in that if any of the race courses there, then you've got a left-handed turn. And actually, talking to Sheen, talking to I think John Gosden. I didn't talk to him this week, but a lot of the trainers go down and really test their horses before going to the Breeders' Cup on tight left-hand turns. Chelmsford is an all-weather track, not a dirt, but a sort of a fibre track that we have, which is left-handed. And it's interesting to see that Sheen went and rode the Learjet and Kamiko around these left-handed tracks just to test them out.
It sounded like Gare Lyons was telling you he'll have his first Breeders' Cup starter in Siskin in the Breeders' Cup Mile, who's 15-1, which I think is a great price. We'll get to that race. That he actually trains at a training track that has tight left-handed turns. So I thought that was a positive.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. It's different in the UK. Obviously, all the trainers tend to train at home, have their own gallops or group together, like the Newmarket or Lambourne. And a lot of trainers will have round gallops, so not always just in a straight line. Jers is particularly tight. So there is that. I think that there's nothing like racecourse experience about going around a bend, but Jer didn't seem to be bothered at all about the left-handed turn, and in his typical Irish way, well, I've got a left-handed gallop at home, so it's fine. I'm also go lefty-handed, so it should be all right.
Thanks for correcting my awful Irish mispronunciation. Gur. Whatever. I actually was impressed that I could say Oisin, because a couple of members on our team were like, "Who is Oisin Murphy?"
Yeah, everyone says Oisin.
Yeah, no. I think when Oisin first broke through over here, everyone had us a pronunciation guide for his name because Oisin. Yeah. He's the type of guy that really wouldn't worry what he got called. So I wouldn't worry if you met him and said Oisin. That's a very Irish name.
Yeah, but I can say, I've been down that road myself many times. So yeah, you can't let it bother you. It just becomes part of having a name that's not completely typical.
Penelope, surely that's pretty typical.
No, I don't think it. It took now I'm screwing it up. Kardashian. It took one of Kim's sisters naming her daughter Penelope to get on the national radar.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
We mentioned Cadillac, one of 3 starters from the Jessica Harrington barn, who sent Albania over last year, finished 4th in the Juvenile Fillies turf. As we mentioned, Cadillac now in the Juvenile turf. 2 more runners on Saturday in the Juvenile Fillies turf, race 9. You've got Udnadata, and then you've got in the filly and mare turf, race 7 on Saturday. You've got Cayenne Pepper in that filly and mare turf. You asked Kate Harrington, who of course is Jessica's daughter and assistant trainer, which one of the 3 she thought had the best chance. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Come on, of the 3, who you're most hopeful about?
I think Cayenne Pepper, she seems to be a filly who's developed really, really well through the season. And I think just with her going there, her prep has been seamless, and we really couldn't be happier with her.
And she's travelled over okay because she's arrived in Keeneland.
Yeah, she's travelled over really well. She ate and drank, and she did a lot of lying down all day Saturday. So that's something I like to see. And Adrian, I just got a message from there just before we went on saying she'd eaten up last night and seemed much brighter this morning.
All right. So as we mentioned, those 3 starters, that was a good sign. Cayenne Pepper did draw wide, I believe, though. But that race is longer, right? That race was a mile and 3/16. So I think maybe has a little bit more time to get over. And that race, race shape will sort of sort itself out, I think, a little bit. Before we move on to Saturday's card, and we do have Alicia Winsuse with the NTRA in the green room. We're asking her to hang tight. We will be bringing her in momentarily as we move to the Saturday card. For Friday, the Juvenile Fillies turf, Ali, just wanted a quick opinion. Udna Dada, or however you pronounce it, is drawn the rail. There are 5 European horses entered. How did you see that race shaking out?
Yeah, of the 5 European horses, I like Miss Amulet the best, who's come over from Ireland for a trainer called Ken Condon. This is a horse or a filly that has really been to battle this season. This will be her 7th run this year, and far more than some of the other runners in the race. I think you need that particularly when you're traveling abroad, those sort of tighter bends. You need a horse that's going to really kind of put her all in for you. She's hardy. She'll like the ground. She goes on top of the ground, and she's drawn 2, so I think she's got a great drawn. So Miss Amulet of the pick, you've got one for Jessica Harrington in there, one for Roger Varian as well, and a couple for Aidan O'Brien. But I keep coming back to Miss Amulet, as I said, sort of a real hardy horse that you're going to get a good run from.
I should tell people who are listening to you speak and who are saying, well, yeah, she has the accent. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about. I'm going to assume this is good. No, you don't understand how good this is. I emailed Ali the night before British Champions Day a few weeks ago, and I said, send me a couple of long shots. She sent me 3 horses at odds of 30-1 or higher, and none of them finished worse than second. It was the most ridiculous thing.
Ask them to me?
Oh, I didn't know. I was like, let me see. Let me. I mean, it was Saturday morning. I was getting coffee. I was like, let me throw a few bucks in. So all of the horses showed up. So if you're not listening, if you haven't been taking notes, when this is done, you could go back and watch it, take your notepad out, circle everything Ali mentions and everything she's about to mention. Ali, can you stick with us for a few more minutes?
You have just cursed it. Now everything I've mentioned. Don't blame me, blame Dan when all of them fail to finish in the top 5, whatever.
I'm pleased to tell you that blaming Dan is always the answer here at America.
Anyway, so I'm really sorry. Anyone who listens to me, the horses are rubbish. It's all Dan.
I'll tell you who else loves to blame me for a lot of things whenever we get together, especially when I drag her into terrible buffets in Las Vegas. That is Alicia Winsuse. Alicia, how are you doing? Oh, you're on mute. We can't hear you. There you go. Now you're back.
Nope.
Oh, no, you're not back. I'm sure I'm going to get blamed for this too, by the way.
I was about to say, Dan, is this your fault?
This is also my fault.
Alicia, it might be your headphones.
Does this?
Yep, we hear you now. We got you.
Yep.
Okay, all right, forget the headphones then. We're going to do au natural, old school way. Before we talk about the very important Breeders' Cup, let's talk about Dan's absolute terrible, abysmal tasting food. I still have PTSD from that Paris buffet in Vegas that he insisted on us going to. And I mean, we're in Vegas. There's like 5-star restaurants as far as the eye can see. No, Paris buffet.
It had great reviews. We looked at the reviews.
And there's no salvaging this story.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, we haven't even talked about the drunk elderly couple who ran over the woman in their motorized wheelchair.
I didn't know if you were going to go there. I was like, that's its own show. Yeah. And we probably should not even open up.
I would actually need to stream Alicia telling stories about Dan's terrible experiences.
Alicia, your fans are in the house here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you kindly, people.
So I'm going to click through some of the comments. Alicia, we've been talking about turf races in particular. We're calling this Turf Tuesday. And we've covered most of the Friday card. I'm wondering, as we look toward the Saturday card, ideally in a turf race, but if it hasn't been in a turf race, you could tell us in any race, who has stood out to you amongst the horses you've seen this week at Keeneland?
Oh, does it have to be a turf horse? Because the best horse.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, this is not remotely original, but honestly, Monomoy Girl this morning, when she galloped by, I turned to Brad Cox and I said, "That's not fair," which has happened out there on the racetrack. And he just looked at me and he said, "She likes Churchill. She loves Keeneland." And take that. I mean, look, she's Monomoy Girl. She doesn't need anybody to pump her up. Her credentials speak for themselves. She's only been beaten once on the square in her entire career. She looked like this morning was like I said, she just looked incredible. She looks as good as I've ever seen her look going into a race. And I just thought it was spectacular. As far as turf races go, I think Leinster in the turf sprint. I mean, again, Rusty Arnold, that's his home, that's his backyard. They're coming into his house. Leinster absolutely loves this course here. That's where he's done his best work. Both of his wins there this season. For Rusty, again, longtime Kentucky-based trainer, it would be his first career Breeders' Cup win. Obviously, anytime you could win a Breeders' Cup race, period, would be exceptional. If Rusty could get it at Keeneland, would just add an added layer to everything. But Leinster is one that I think, definitely don't sleep on him, especially I think this year. I think last year coming into the Breeders' Cup, which granted was out in California, I think that was his 8th start of the year, whereas this year I think he's only had 3 previous starts, so he's a much fresher horse coming in to this year's race. So, I said obviously COVID played a huge part in that with the everybody's schedules getting kind of twisted around, but I think Leinster is coming into this in great shape. Like I said, this is his course, and he doesn't like a lot of give in the course, but the forecast for, I said we had, some rain earlier, but the forecast for the rest of this week looks exceptional. The forecast for Friday and Saturday is actually looking like it's going to be almost in the 70s, knock all the wood. So by the time we get to Saturday, the course should be just what he's kind of looking for.
I have a question for you, Alicia. Have you seen My Pretty Pony? The owners don't know he's mine, but United?
I have not seen United yet. I know I saw Mr. Mandela this morning, which is always a thrill. So I said he might be on the plane that was in the air from California today. So I said I have not had a chance to get to see him on the track yet. Obviously, he ran a tremendous race last year out in California, where he just got beat by Bricks and Mortar. Obviously, went on to become horse of the year. So absolutely no disgrace there. And United has just completely, has been on his game all season this year. You can't not root for Dick Mandela. You just can't do it. If you do it, you're the problem, not him. And I'm prepared to die on that hill forever. So I said he's definitely one to watch there. Obviously we have Magical, who's coming over. The Aidan O'Brien horses arrived yesterday evening. I think it's 36 hours in quarantine that they have to spend. So like I said, hopefully we'll see them on the track within the next day or so. If her form holds, on paper it's her race to lose, but definitely I said United is a horse who I said hasn't really done anything wrong for the better part of the last year.
Awesome. I want to circle back to that race in a minute. 6 European horses in that one. Only one in the race that you just mentioned a moment ago, which is the first turf race on Saturday. That turf sprint. There's only one European horse, as I mentioned. It's Glass Slippers. Ali, should we be paying any attention to that one in particular?
Look, he's a 2-time Grade 1 winner, so you got to pay some attention. But I think that your American horse is probably going to have the edge on Glass Slippers. A horse that's done well at Longchamp in the mud again. If it's going to be super hot at Keeneland and fast ground, I think it's going to may perhaps be done for toe. So I wouldn't be that keen on Glass Slippers, but with the caveat, two-time Grade 1 winner, so you shouldn't sort of rule it out. But last one, as I said, Longchamp, a heavy ground it just seems. So this is going to be very different conditions this weekend.
We talked briefly about Cayenne Pepper. You heard Kate Harrington say that in that filly and mare turf, which is raced Saturday and Sunday. Of the 3 horses they're sending over, that's the one they have the highest hopes for. Ali, just again, any thoughts here? You've got Sister Charlie in that race, Rushing Fall,
Jubilee.
Starship Jubilee. You have so much. Yeah, I mean, you have so much class. I mean, it's a really tough field. Is there anything we should know about Peaceful, Terabellum, and Odaria? Hopefully.
I mean, Peaceful, a good horse from Aidan O'Brien. I mean, that Terabellum came probably the best form for her, was coming second in the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot, which was really great, but form has tailed off a little bit since then. Odaria for James Fanshawe, trainer that's having his first Breeders' Cup run. One at Deauville in France, but that was on soft going. Again, the ground perhaps is not going to come up to her suiting. So of the European runners, Cayenne Pepper would be my choice. Group 2 winner last time out at the Curragh, but actually finished behind some really good horses this season. You know, perhaps hasn't got all the ones after her name, Cayenne Pepper, but finished behind Tanawa, which is the horse that Dermot Weld is running in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Opted for the turf. She's obviously eligible to run in the fillies and mares as well. And before that, finishing second behind Magical, who is favourite for the turf. So I think Cayenne Pepper's got some really good form this season. And I liked what Kate said about the horse, and I would say is the best of the European runners in the fillies and mares.
I think I heard Penelope and Alicia at the same time sort of, react with this really strong. As soon as Starship Jubilee, I mean, so Starship Jubilee, first of all, Alicia and Penelope, I want to hear more. Alicia, have you seen her? And just talk about this kind of, really incredible ride she's been on. And then beyond that, I'm interested in what everyone thinks about Sister Charlie. Has she seen her best day, or can she rediscover the form that saw her win this race couple of years ago? First, let's start with Starship Jubilee. Alicia.
She's not there yet, so I haven't seen her. But we have been fortunate enough to see her at Woodbine over the years. And, I have to say, I got a little rankle though when she actually beat Sister Charlie this year. People were kind of framing it as an upset, which I kind of sort of got, but on the other hand, not really, because I was like, Sister Charlie, I believe it was her first start back of the year. Starship Jubilee, I'm like, this was already a grade 1 winning mare, a champion in Canada. She was coming into that race in the form of her life. And I'm like, her beating Sister Charlie that day, on the odds boards, it may have been a bit of an upset, but on paper, it made absolute sense. And this is, I think she's 7 years old now. She's only getting better. Like I said, she's another one, just hasn't done a whole lot wrong. Obviously, Woodbine Mile last time out, beat males there. Just a fantastic story. She's everything. She's all the good qualities that you love to see in this sport. Like I said, is enduring horse who, like I said, has just kept getting better and better and better each year, and has connections that have really shown the time and patience to let her shine. I said, ignore her at your own risk. Sister Charlie, if you're taking a chance on her, you're taking a chance, obviously, on back class, because she has not shown herself this year to be what she was. Chad Brown's comments have said that her most recent works have been, in his opinion, some of the most impressive that he's seen from her recently. He is warning people not to give up on her just yet. I'm personally, and again, I'm biased because I've loved her since she was a 2-year-old. Rushing Fall, that's my girl. That's it. I would love to see this be the year too, that Rushing Fall, gets her championship. That's pretty much the only thing missing from her resume. She's already a Breeders' Cup winner, multiple Grade 1 winner. She's the reigning queen of Keeneland with all of her Great Stakes wins that she's earned there. And she's just one of the more beautiful horses that I've seen. Saw her this morning, the track again, dapples for days. She's
shining like the top of the Chrysler Building.
She's just, she's one of those who looks as good as you would want a horse to look going into a race.
Yeah, this is a race I'm going to sit out wagering wise, because I have too many heart horses in it, and I will not be able to use my head. So, and I think that's a really important thing to remember when you are playing the races, for our viewers who might not do like huge betting marathons like this very often. No, I'm serious. It's like pick your spots. Yeah. Like, don't be like me and be like, but I love her. Like, put money on the horse. No, it's a terrible idea. That's how you have to, like, you know, skip laundry week or something. I don't know. No, like, pick your spots. But yeah, I'm with Alicia pretty much wholeheartedly here. Rushing Fall. I mean, she loves Keeneland. Yeah. She loves it. It's her playground. But I really want Starship Jubilee to win. So I can't bet the race because I can't use common sense.
Rushing Fall, Sister Charlie, my sister Nat, and Lady Nay have one thing in common. They're all trained by Chad Brown. If you're betting on trends, Chad Brown has won this race 4 times. He's the only non-European trainer to win the race in the last 8 years. And so consider that. He's all around this race. And certainly he can claim, having at certainly 2, possibly 3 of the classiest horses in this field. I think my sister Nat's had a great year as well. I've been a big fan of hers. Interested to see if she could, if she could just take another step here, and if she can hang with this company. I think if she gets a right trip, she can. And we'll see how it unfolds in the filly and mare turf. All right, I'm looking at the clock. We've got 15 minutes left. But I want to get to this mile here. This mile is super, super intriguing to me. Ali, as I mentioned, you spoke to Oisin. He told you about Kamiko. Just give us a little bit of color there. Tell us about Siskin. Tell us about the 4 other runners. You've got Circus Maximus. You've got One Master, Safe Voyage, Lope Fernandez. It's going to be a really, really competitive race. You know that it is when Circus Maximus is 12-1 on the morning line. How do you see it?
Yeah, it's a great race, and 2 of Europe's strongest bullets are in this race, and Kamiko and Siskin, both classic winners. And we talked about how great it is. There's such a strong contingent coming over from Europe, but some of the very best horses are coming over from Europe. Kamiko won the British 2000 Guineas at the beginning of the season. Trained by Andrew Balding, ridden by Oisin Murphy. That was his first classic win. He's a British champion jockey. He's about to be claimed. About to be crowned champion jockey again this week. And Siskin won the Irish 2000 Guineas, a horse trained by Ger Lyons, ridden by Colin Keane, who's the Irish champion jockey, crowned that today. Both, since they won the Guineas, if you look at their form, you might think, oh, well, maybe they haven't they've petered off a little bit. Kamiko's finished 4th in a few races and then came and won a Group 2 at Newmarket most recently. But actually, that's not giving him his due, because he's been up against older horses and he's been a bit unlucky. He ran at Goodwood in the Sussex Stakes, and it was definitely the unlucky story of the race. Was really had bad traffic problems to finish 4th. Finishing ahead of him that day was Siskin, who finished in 3rd. Again, up against those older horses. Had no sort of run at Longchamp last time out, and it was blamed on the horse basically being a bit naughty heading down to post and getting upset in the stalls. Speaking to Ger Lyons this week, they said that they have no concern about the horse in the stalls, and they're much quicker to load in America, and they don't seem to be too worried about that. At the prices, I have to say, I think I'm erring with Siskin. I think Kamiko's favourite, and I don't want to put you off Kamiko, but Siskin is a classic winner. He's won Group 1 last season, as well as a 2-year-old at 8-1. All reports from Ger was, he was full of it, saying how well the horse was. I think he's travelled over really well. He's 10-1. He's drawn in 4, which is great. That's so important as well. Kamiko's drawn in 2, so that's also very good. Of the others, One Master's a wonderful filly for William Haggis, 3-time winner of the Prix de la Forêt, which is a 7-furlong race on Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe Day at Longchamp, and has won that 3 times, Group 1. But that tends to be in European autumn weather and where the ground is pretty soft. And she is a 7-furlong specialist. So I'm not sure that the mile will necessarily suit her. And as you said, Circus Maximus has been at a bigger price at 12-1, is it? The horse, that's won a Grade 1 for Aidan O'Brien, won the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot this year. It shows the strength of this race. But I keep returning to the 2 classic winners, Kamiko and Siskin. And for me, I like Siskin for the Irish Ger Lions.
Before we get the take on the US-based runners, since we've mentioned him so much, I feel like we've got to just show the viewers who Ger Lyons is and give him a little bit of a clip. When you were asking him specifically about Siskin and how he would handle the turns.
Have you done anything different to prepare him for racing at Keeneland, given it's a very different track, it's tight, it's left-handed?
No, but he races tight and left-handed, or gallops, works tight and left-handed at home here on my surface. I worked in Keeneland, so no, I think a track and the surface would suit him. You know, as long as it's a fast surface, he's at his optimum on a fast turf. He's a good sharp horse, plenty of pace, loves a battle, loves being amongst horses, and would have the tactical speed to be where he needs to be. And as I would say to Colin, you know, keep it simple and do what you know, ride him. I wouldn't change anything. There'd be no reason for him not to. If he handled Goodwood, he'll handle Keeneland, let me tell you.
He sounds confident.
Yeah.
He did. He came across as confident. It's a super horse, Siskin, and Ger Lyons is gutted that this is going to be the last run for Siskin before he retires to stud, and Kamiko as well. Kamiko is going to be standing at stud in the UK at Tween Hills, which is Qatar Racing's British stud. That's the owners. Whereas Siskin's heading off to Japan. So I think Ger is pretty gutted having such a good horse, Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old and as a 3-year-old, and then off he goes to Japan of all places. So he's going to have some fantastic mares over there, but it'd be great if he goes out on a high.
Yeah. Shadwell Turf Mile winner. I was going to mention Ivar is the favorite in this race, 4-1. Penelope of the U.S. string. Which one did you go to?
Well, I actually was going to ask Alicia a question, which is like, you know, Ali just said fantastic mare, and my mind jumps to Uni. Like, what's your feeling on that, Alicia?
She was also out at Keeneland for the first time this morning. She's definitely, you know, or is it obviously she's rounding back into form, you know, looking like the Uni that was our champion last year. And so I think it's going to depend on sort of which version of her shows up this weekend. We know she likes Keeneland. I said we know she can, you know, so it's kind of going to depend on, like I said, is she back to her peak form, or has she actually lost a step from last year? I said her most recent outing says no, she is back. Who I'm kind of, when they put up the odds board last night, who I kind of salivated a little bit with was 8-1 on Factor This.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's going to, I don't know what he's going to go off at, but it said, you know, another one. He's got, I think, 5 wins from 7 starts this year. Hasn't really done anything wrong. His last, you know, I think he got beat at Churchill, but it was
He's busted up plenty of my tickets. I can tell you that much.
You know, but that I think that was over like a mile and an eighth and everything. But he's, you know what his game is. He's going to show speed. He's going to be out front. He has the outside post, but he's got Florent Giroux up there. Flo is a master at getting a horse out and getting him over, knowing how to save ground. Go rewatch the Gun Runner Pegasus World Cup if you doubt me on that one and testify. But he's another one. I'm like, if Factor This is floating anywhere around those odds, yeah, he can take my money at that price, because if he gets out there and if he can dictate, why not?
Penelope, anything to add on this one before we move on to the turf?
No, I'm just going to be a happy little follower and probably just put like a trifecta box around whoever you guys say. Honestly, like this race to me is so deep that I need guidance. It's what I'm really looking forward to.
You know, Siskin at 15-1 sounds great to me. I don't know that we're going to get that price. I think that's a little inflated. I think Ivar at 4-1 is actually listed as the morning line favorite. Will probably drift up a little bit. Or maybe not. The line seemed a little off to me there. I think Siskin's going to take more play. I think Kamiko is going to take more play as well. So, all right, awesome insights all around there. Let's move to the biggest turf race of the ball, the Breeders' Cup Turf, race 11 on Saturday. 6 European horses entered of the 10 here. The 10 horse all the way on the outside, Mogul, is the favorite, has been raced last out in France, won the Grand Prix de Paris Grade 1, won by 2.5 lengths. But you've got a number of other really just super classy horses here, headlined by Magical, who I believe Alicia mentioned earlier. Again, let's start with Ali and then kick it around.
Yeah, interesting that you've got Mogul as the favourite over with you, because he's actually third favourite. I think that's due to, in the British markets, due to his draw. He's drawn 10, and the fact that Ryan Moore would have had the pick of the two, Magical or Mogul, and he's gone for Magical, who's drawn in 2, which is a great draw. Magical, well, look, Aidan O'Brien, he's won this race 6 times, 5 of the last 9 runnings. He has got 2 wonderful horses in this, and Magical is a superstar. I was looking at her form today. Her last 12 runs have all been in Grade 1 or Group 1 company here in Europe, which is, she's been really very much dining at the top table, as we like to say, and has run so well. Her worst result in those 12 runs was 5th in last year's Arc de Triomphe, when the ground was horrendous. It was in heavy going. She's been so consistent this year, finishing in the first and second in every race. Again, she finished 3rd last time out, but that was in soft going at Ascot at the mid-October, so not her perfect conditions. I really would love to see her win. My heart and my head says that she should win, because she travels well. She finished that epic battle with Enable at Churchill Downs 2 years ago, was it? So I know that she can travel over to the UK, to the US. She'll take all that fine. She's got Ryan Moore. She's got a great draw in 2. I think she's been running her best this year. She's been beaten only by Gurkha at York, and she beat him before that, or after that rather, in the Irish Champion Stakes at Leopardstown. Rule out her last run. I think she's the one to beat. But really strong European field. We've got Tanawa for Dermot Wild. I touched on her because she was eligible also for the Fillies and Mares. She's opted to go for this. Dermot Wild's the master trainer. He won at the very first Breeders' Cup back in 1984. And this is very much his best horse, but I don't feel that she's got quite the same form as Magical. Mogul's a really interesting runner, because he's only a 3-year-old, so he gets a bit of a weight allowance for that, but he missed out on running in the Arc. That was his main target due to, I don't know if you read about it over there, but there was feed contamination at Aidan O'Brien's part, and he couldn't have any runners at the Arc meeting. But Mogul was really fancied for the Arc after it won at Longchamp in September. So it could be an advantage that the horse missed the Arc, is perhaps fresher, could be improving, as I say, that a 3-year-old won that Grade 1. But again, in comparing that, his form to Magical, I think there's no comparison. Lord North, if he hadn't finished absolutely last at Ascot last time out, you perhaps would fancy him a little bit more. He's the best runner for John Gosden. Interesting though, when I spoke to Frankie Dettori earlier in the week with the series of previews, Frankie said of his rides, he thought that perhaps his 2-year-old ride for Wesley Ward was the best for his best chance of victory over Lord North, which was interesting. I mean, Lord North's a very good horse, but perhaps his form has petered off a little bit towards the end of this season. And it's got Medaya as well, John Gosden, who's probably his second string. But I just go back to Magical each time. Probably far too short to bet on, but let's just try and celebrate a great filly and hope we see a really good race.
That 2-year-old, by the way, we hadn't mentioned by name. It's Campanelle, the 10 horse in the 9th race, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf on Friday. Alicia, your take on the turf?
I said, as we've established, I think, again, all things being equal, this is Magical's race to lose. If I was going to throw in an American contender who I think, and I'm going to preface this with, I don't think he's good enough to win, I'm also going to say, I swear to God, I'm not on Brad Cox's payroll. I'm not touting his work. But Arklow, he is one who, again, Brad has mentioned that he just seems like he has really woken up recently. He previously has not been known as a great workhorse, like borderline, like lackadaisical, but Brad said that he's really seen him turn a corner in the mornings recently. And when you talk to Brad, he's got obviously a great contingent of horses. Arklow's the one who he keeps coming back to and mentioning as the one who's been impressing him with his form in the mornings of late. So again, I don't think his best race wins this race, but I do think that if things break right and if he does run his best race, he's probably going to offer a good price on the odds board. I would definitely use him.
I like that. Penelope, any thoughts on this, or you want to? We could save it for Friday if you want, or Saturday, because we're going to be talking more.
Well, I have a take, Dan. I'll try to take.
Let's hear it. We're coming up on one.
Really quickly, I just like United sitting at 8-1 on the morning line is way too tasty for me to ignore in this race. Like, I think that if you get anything close to 8-1 on him, I agreed. It's Magical's race to lose, but 8-1 on United? What's happening here? Take it. Take the bet. Just do it. Like,
and bet with the British bookies because he's 12s. 12s over here. So if you really like United.
Yes, millions of people watching us right now, live from the UK. Take the bet.
I needed United to win last year when he was 51-1. I had him on my pick 4. This year it's too late. And I know tomorrow we will definitely speak more about this race, and not only United, but the horse who beat United last in the Del Mar Handicap last out. That's Red King, Little Red Feather Racing. Billy Koch will be with us tomorrow. Allie, you're going to rejoin us on Saturday. You'll be back for a full day preview. We'll talk about the turf and the dirt races. Alicia, you're going to back to work there at Keeneland. And so before we let you go, since we're not going to have you for the rest of the week, just want a quick pick from you in the Classic, and then tell people where they could follow you the rest of the week.
For the Classic, I'm going Tom's Data. That's who he's a great story, 7 years old, just another great tale of perseverance and of his connections, giving him the time to work through his physical issues. He's been plagued by some ankle injuries. I think he's had 2 surgeries in the past, but really since about November 2018 till now, he's been right and been consistent, and you can see that's why he's getting as good as he is now, is because he's been able to get trading solidly. He's not starting and stopping constantly, and so that ability has been able to come through. Also, if you want some omens and some karma, 10-year anniversary of what now? Blame beating Zenyatta. Who trained Blame? Al Stahl. Who trains Tom Zita? Al Stahl. And so I think he's a cool horse. I think he's getting overlooked a little bit because you've got the Baffert Glamour boys all on the outside. Everybody's talking about them, and again, you can't knock what Improbable's done, but also remember Tom Zita lost all chance in that race when he stumbled very badly at the break. He's got a versatile enough running style where no matter what they do up front, he'll be happy to sit back, Ray. However they want to play, he can sit back, he can take dirt. He's not going to be fazed by that. Very chill horse. And another point that Alstall made the other day is if you're a believer in the Ragozin numbers, I think he said something to the effect of, if you look back at like his last 11 races, he's running negative numbers on the rag. And he's like, nobody else in this field has that. So, if you're looking at it for that kind of an angle, like I said, I think he's definitely live there. I said everybody's going to be on the Baffert boys. I'm going with Little Al to do it again. 10 years, it's time.
Tom Zita has been super consistent, had excuses in the Whitney, of course. Before we check out, Alicia, where can people find you and your work the rest of this week?
I am at A Hughes NTRA on Twitter. You can go ahead, follow me there as we stand out on these chilly mornings and keep tabs on all these lovely Breeders' Cup horses going on. But I said, yes, it was very, very cold yesterday to the point where they had to close the track until around 7:30. But I said, it was clear and beautiful this morning. We've got a great forecast for the rest of the week. We've got, I said, all the horses should be on the grounds by tomorrow. So I said, should be a fantastic 2 days of racing.
Breeders' Cup preview, lunchtime show. We do it again tomorrow, same time, same place. Me and Penelope will be back. We will see you then. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, guys.